Well, hello, my dear friends on the Facebook and the YouTube. It's me, Dave, and this is my internet thing I'm calling Coffee Time with Dave. I ran this by no people before I named it, and I created a logo in 35 seconds with great detail. And that's as much thought as I've put into this. But I have been having some of my pals and my friends on in the last little bit just to be able to introduce my friends and some of the great things that they're doing here in Brantford. And if you have comments and want to say hi, either on Facebook or YouTube, you just make those comments and you can get in on today's conversation. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to my friend Charlie Lyons.
Hello, Dave.
Woo! Charlie,
good to be with you. It's going well. It's going well. It's a little bit, gray skies here, overcast and that kind of thing. But as you know, you probably know as well as anybody, we need the rain here in Brantford.
I think it's interesting. I have my great grandparents were like self-sustaining farmers up in Madoc, Bancroft, Gilmore area, and so I've worked on a farm 0 days in my life, so I have like some farming in the back. But it's funny because I've got people on my street that I know they've never been on a farm. They know that they exist, but it's gonna rain. I'm sitting on my porch and they go, "Well, the farmers need it." Like, okay, yeah, they do. You're right.
Exactly.
You're right. They do.
Yeah.
But I've never harvested any corn. Have you ever harvested corn? You ever harvested?
I've never done corn. When I was a kid, I worked on a dairy farm, so we did our share of haying and straw and that kind of thing,
nice.
Getting it up. And the first day, I remember the first day I did that, I was in shorts, and the farmer took one look at me. The guy I worked for, he took one look at me and he says, "You need to go back home and put pants on because you're not going to do straw in shorts." And I found out why. Oh, let me tell you.
Yeah. This gentleman is a rube. Send him home. Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
Rennick says I'm swell, so that's nice. I like that. I can deal with that. Well, listen, Charlie, you work along with some of my friends at a place called Leading Influence, a ministry that provides chaplaincy services to different houses of government across the country. It's so neat, and I got to come up and be with you guys up at Queen's Park just before the world closed up. It was like my last road trip before the great Q hit us. So got to speak at a prayer breakfast where you guys just serve and build relationships with some of the leaders in the province. What's this like? This is fairly new for you too, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I remember that day well. It was literally the day before. It was March 11th, and then March 12th was the day that all of the emergency orders came down, and the world literally changed as we know it. So for us here, this has been about a year ago. It was just a couple weeks ago. We had our 1-year anniversary in the home we bought here in Brantford, and chose Brantford for a number of very good reasons. We've got some family nearby, just down the river in Caledonia, and transportation in and out of the city is so easy. It was funny. My wife and I remembered, we were just reminiscing, 1 year, all the landmark anniversaries and stuff of things happening. And we were just saying about, with all the real estate listings, there isn't a real estate listing that exists for Brantford that doesn't mention how close the house is to the highway. We found that out very quickly. But it's been wonderful over the last year or so, coming alongside of Tim Schindel, who I know you've had on a number of times in various things over the last little while, and it's been great coming on with Leading Influence for sure. Yeah, just a little over a year ago.
There you are, right there.
Yes.
You support Charlie, you go to Leading Influence, so that's what you do. There you go.
There you go.
So what is that like? So I remember years ago when I started doing anything public, Brian Beattie and I used to have this joke because we had this this incident where when we started doing Christian radio in town, we had people that, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, Charlie, but sometimes people grumble about stuff. Anyway, so we had people that this guy would show up at the radio station and he was mad about the government doing something or other, and he would always almost like he would growl like a pirate and would go, "Arr, the government, arr, the government." So for a bunch of years, our joke was, "Arr, the government." But one of the things that I know I've learned, and I'm sure that you've learned during your time before, is that folks who are in our government, who are leading, they're real people, and they've got real stuff going on in their real lives, just like all of us do, right?
Yeah, exactly. That for me was one of the very first, if not the very first lesson that I learned coming on, and even in the days prior to coming on with Leading Influences. We see them often with a microphone thrust in their face, and they're this talking head on TV, and somehow we think that they're endued with some magical powers or something like that because they're minister of this or they're on this committee or that committee. But ultimately, they are flesh and blood, body, soul, and spirit, created in the image of God, like any other person on the planet. And it's true. You hit the nail on the head. They deal with any of the things that we deal with on any given day. I spent a number of years pastoring prior to moving into chaplaincy, and I liken it to standing up on Sunday morning, and I'm about to preach to my congregation, and I think as I'm looking out in the congregation, and I'm about to say what I'm going to say, I'm thinking, how is this going to resonate with so and so over here who's just lost an aging parent that they've been taking care of in their home for a long time, or how's this going to resonate with this couple over here that just launched their oldest child and has left the nest and they're off to university, or how's it going to resonate with this young guy over here being the one going off to university, and I'm thinking in this new role of chaplaincy, providing essentially pastoral services to Ontario's politicians, is really no different. I've had those kinds of conversations. An older member dealing with the situation where how do I reach out to my child that I haven't had any conversation with in 20 years, sort of a prodigal child scenario, prodigal son scenario, or I've had that conversation to come alongside of and encourage and support one of the MPPs who were launching their oldest into university and that kind of thing. And so all the emotions that come with that. And that's very much it. Is I don't have anything to do with policy. I don't have anything to do with the making of the sausage, as it were. It really just has to do with the person. It's how is it with your soul? That old pastoral question. How is it with your soul? And just to come alongside and provide service and support and encouragement, and oftentimes those hallway conversations that begin as just simply how's your day going turn into more meaningful conversations and then office conversations where it's just one-on-one and that kind of thing. So it really is just about providing that encouragement and support. At the end of the day, we believe that leaders that are well supported emotionally and spiritually and relationally are going to provide better governance than those who aren't. And that's really where the rubber meets the road.
I see a friend, Milan, who works in our local in Brantford MPP's office. This Charlie, you've made many of my days with a great start. Thank you, Milan, and their team over there in our MPP in Brantford, Will Bauma's office does a really great job, and the folks in the constituency offices do so much work inside each market. And in Brantford, I've got the neat opportunity to be able to know both our staff over at the MP's office and MPP's office, and there were really lucky folks to be able to have them. Okay, so let's talk about the big spend, Charlie, because so one of the things I like about the big spend, and if you follow me on any sort of anything, you've heard about the big spend, and as well as Charlie, but you've probably heard more from Charlie than you think that you have, because anything that the big spend does social media wise is Charlie, who is doing a crackerjack job, buddy. Like you're really, really very good at this. And so one of the things that I like about it, and especially a leading influence, and Tim Schindel are the driving force behind, and I'm just sort of a tagalog who came up with some funny names and has a smooth talking voice. But one of the things I like is that I'm a big believer in showing love to people by finding what their felt needs are and meeting it. And when this quarantine hit and this virus hit, everyone's got their own personal stuff and that, but the people that are, overseeing politically, economically, XYZ inside markets, when business starts to struggle, and specifically small business, when that starts to struggle, it can really bring some crumbling inside cities, right? Like these are not just ridings; these are our homes, right? Like this, I wrote this into our little video blurb that has now I think been seen 15,000 times. I saw yesterday. Like the video is up and has been redone in Yellowknife. It's been redone in a little town I shared yesterday in north of Vancouver Island. Yeah. Anyway, like I wrote in it, like small business. These are the people that sponsor our kids' soccer teams, right? Like that they go that. In fact, I had a thing, and I've told this story a bit, but I had a neat thing with Dairy Delight ice cream place inside Brantford, legendary ice cream, long time family business. And during the beginning of this quarantine, we wanted to be able to do something. And normally, Dairy Delight just gives us and lots of different organizations free ice cream. Then they're like, yeah, sure, go ahead and give a free ice cream cone, like a kiddie cone. And then went, oh, well, shoot, they're in a tough spot. And we went and bought gift cards, and the neat interaction with the owner of Dairy Delight to be able to go, we recognize this is tough. We want to invest in you. Man, the difference that makes. And if we can see this happen across this country in markets this Saturday, like, this could be a game changer, right? Yeah, totally. Yeah, the initial goal was a $10 million spend nationwide, of course. And that very quickly we began to realize, that's not really, shooting for the stars. That's down in some of the lower planetary bodies. So we bumped that up. I say I had nothing to do with it, but because I'm on the team, I get to say we moved it up to $100 million. Because we believe that is more what we're trying to shoot for. And Steve's plausible, right? Like it actually is quite plausible. Absolutely. Because as you're putting up there, you see on the screen in front of you the $112 and the $87 and the $63. All of those spread out across thousands of communities and neighborhoods across Canada. It is totally within reach. Absolutely. What a neat thing, and I know this, the idea of everybody doing a little to create something larger is not in itself a groundbreaking. We have not forged into new ground here, but it's really timely. I was telling you earlier, I had a conversation with a friend of mine from the States who heard about the idea of the big spend, and he comes from a state where they had just kind of gone back into some quarantine, and he had been in discussions because, like you guys, they serve their leaders and they had built relationship with their local government and that sort of thing. Well, local government have been asking him, and this is a guy that pastors a church, but he is an influential person in the community. Yeah. They said, hey, how can you help with the economy? And he goes, when he saw the idea of the big spend, he's like, it's so simple. If we can rise up and do it, my goodness, what can end up happening? And then for me, I look at what you guys do, being able to, and as as Christians, for us, I mean, for us, it's like this is sharing God's love in a practical way. But even if you took that out of it, it's sharing love in a practical way with people, which impacts people, which changes people's heart, and then motivates us. It does nothing but encourage, right? And encouragement just motivates us towards good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And initially we had a few people scratching their heads that are connected to our ministry and friends of our ministry, and they said, really, like, what does a chaplaincy group have anything to do with economics? But for us, it was a really easy connect, because this is what is on the mind most of the people that we are most connected with. You ask anyone just about of the Ontario, 124 MPPs, and other provinces, various numbers, but of the hundreds of provincial and federal politicians across Canada, to a person, it's about recovery. It's about getting back on track. It's about kickstart. It's about all these phrases that we're hearing about. So it was really kind of a natural hand in glove fit for us, because it's what's on their minds the most, for sure, these days.
Okay, so you're doing a lot of the social media stuff between Instagram and the Twitter and the Facebook and such. Okay, so often in this day and age, when you're the one monitoring social media accounts, you're the ones that get the "oh my goodness, I can't believe that this just happened" type thing. And we've had a few of these with the big spend, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what was your favorite so far? Oh my goodness, I can't believe that just happened, that you saw it on social media.
Oh goodness. Well, there's been a couple of them, I guess. Probably the one that was the most was I had this brainwave one night. I'm sitting there. My wife and I just put the kids to bed, and I'm sitting there on Twitter. I'm like, some of Canada's brand names kind of thing that we automatically equate with name recognition, all that kind of thing in Canada. I thought, well, what if I just randomly sent messages on Twitter to some of these people and said, here's a character counted message that you can just copy and paste, right? Tap and hold and put it onto your feed, kind of thing. Well, I did that with several, and within 3 minutes, a gentleman by the name of Ben Mulrooney had done that very thing. And all of a sudden, Ben and his, I forget exactly, because I've seen so many of them, but I think it's something like 50, 60, 70, some odd thousand followers. Our message of #TheBigSpend is in front of all of these tens of thousands of people within like 3 minutes. It's like, dude, ask and you shall receive. And there it was.
and I mean, not just because of this specific one, but over the last little while, did I see this morning that we think that there are over 300 chambers of commerce across the country that are participating in this? Is that what I saw?
I think that's what we're sort of forecast. I know for sure we're at 200. Okay. 200 chambers of commerce have registered so far, and there was still this morning already. We're seeing a bunch of registrations come in through the website, the Twitter followers, the Instagram followers, and Facebook. Actually, this morning have all ramped up, and it's been incredible. It's kind of what we expected, I think. Where this week, basically starting with Saturday, Sunday. Facebook gives you all the behind the scenes insights and all that kind of thing. And the growth has been truly exponential since Sunday. It's like all the COVID curves we've seen of countries, not so much Canada, but around the rest of the world, where they're just going up, and that's what the growth has been over this past week. So even as I'm sitting here, my phone just it keeps lighting up with other things that are coming in as we're speaking here, with now well under 48 hours to go until it kicks off in the earliest time zones here in Canada.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to spend on?
Well, my wife and I decided we're gonna spread it out over a few different places here. There's a restaurant for sure that we've grown to really like here. We're in Linden Hills, right? So we're kind of over, tucked in behind La Coco's area, and so La Coco's is one that's been a favorite of ours. We can just walk over to that. And Sweet Bakery here in Brantford, just some fantastic stuff. I mean, my wife makes better stuff.
Friend. Oh, my longtime friend Stacy runs that. When you go in, you tell her that Dave sent you. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a few little ones here. I got a bike repair I got to get done, so I'm going to do that on Saturday as well, and
awesome.
All of those kinds of things.
I thought I knew what I was doing, but my kids are now getting in on the lobby of, like, this morning I hear talk out, and I'm working in my den and dining room table talk about kids lobbying different things. So, boy, I don't know. I'm up. I think I may be back to the drawing board, and we'll get the family into the discussion. But
that's right.
That's really good. Charlie, thanks so much for hanging out with me for a little while today. This is it's really good. It's been a lot of fun to be able to get to know you over the last little while, and you're a good dude, and Brantford's better for having you here, man.
Well, likewise, Dave. It's been so good to get to know you, and even I think our connection started with some late night texting back and forth. We were asking about the one address down like Mohawk Park when we were looking at putting an offer in on a place there, and you said, "Well, the dumps are just across the reservoir there, and that depending on which direction the wind blows and all that." So you have been instrumental in our life in more ways than you realize, my friend.
I love the Mohawk Park area, but every now and again, when you're too close to the dump, yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right, Charlie, it's going to be a fun little bit to watch how the big spend rolls itself out in the next little while. And thanks so much for hanging out with me today. You just hang on. I'm going to run this little thing, and then I'll say goodbye to you in person. But for you on the internet, goodbye. See you later.